Hey up guys, it's Rory here from Enlighten the Shadows. It's episode 3 today that you're watching. Last week was episode 2, it was Lewis Parfit about finding purpose. Whereas this week, I've got my mate all the way from Nottingham. He's not as far as Wales this week, but yeah, this is one of my boys and I've got so much love for him. And he and I were on the phone this week and he just proper inspired me about wanting to just get him on this show ASAP. And I just want to big him up massively because it's not easy for most people just to come on camera, but it's even harder to come on camera and just get real like we do on Enlighten the Shadows. So yeah, I just want to invite Scot Harlow to just come say hello to you guys and make yourself real comfortable. All right, Scott, mate, how you doing?
Not bad, mate. I'm good. Are you?
Yeah, sound, mate. We were just laughing a minute ago, weren't we, bud? Because I started off first 20 seconds and I said, oh, it's unedited. I proper bombed the intro, didn't I? It was the first time I've ever had to redo anything in like the Shadows. I was like, I can't.
This is a take 2, yeah.
It was take 2. I'll be honest. I lied, guys. It wasn't as raw as I said it would be, but no, I couldn't give you guys that intro. It was absolute. Oh, it was not good. I bombed it, didn't I, mate? But hey, here we are. So, yeah, I just want to ask you, Scott, before we get into the main theme of today's chat, which I sense is about this whole COVID lockdown and inspiring people massively to just go, whoa, this guy, he's come from there and he's going here, and yeah, I can do that too. Before we just go into any of that and talk about that testimonial, like transformation, as I like to call it, how did we kind of cross paths? I don't know if you remember, or it probably wasn't that special, but how do you and I know each other, just so the viewers can understand?
So I think I started playing for Stapleford Town when you was away somewhere. I don't know where you was, and it was one pre-season. This is my second season at Stapleford, so it was this pre-season from last year. And I'd heard a little bit about Rory Green, and he was a good character and everything. And we was at one pre-season game down Chilwell, and then we sort of crossed paths then, and you was there and I was there for the first time we met. And I think I'd made a comment about the Leeds score at the time, that was Leeds were winning. I don't know, something about Leeds, and you popped up and said you was a Leeds fan as well. So the love just grew from there. Really, it was always going to be a match made in heaven.
Yeah, well, let's just hope that any blokes out there watching just like, oh no, I've actually, yeah, I'm just gonna get this
switched off now.
Yeah, they're probably like, who's these guys? Hey guys, bear with us. I usually have that in the background there on the sofa, and me and Sharice, my wife, said, "Oh man, we've got to take it out. What happens if first time viewers see it and they think you're a Leeds fan and they just turn it off straight away?" And I was laughing. I went, "Yeah, actually, I'll do that." But you know what? This is part of who we are, you know, and this is how we met. So yeah, there's something special. We're not going to go on a tangent about football, but there's something special about the Leeds family and how we just straight away you click. It's like family, and that's how I felt. You know, we call it Stabo, Stapleford Town, the amateur football team in Nottinghamshire. For those who don't know, you know, we are like brothers in that squad, and there's so much love that we got for one another, and so much diversity and people from all walks of life. But yeah, I think that, mate, that we kind of connected that little bit more because that Leeds connection. But
Definitely.
yeah, man, it's just grown and grown for me, that love that I got for you, and I'm just buzzing that you come today on my show and talk real. So yeah,
but I'm looking forward to it.
So Scott, mate, for those who don't know you, let's just give them a little bit of background, because they're probably watching today going, all right, who's this cat? He plays a football team, Nottingham, good for you, whatever. But let's hook people in. So people who are watching tonight or today, wherever you're watching it on the Sunday evening or not, lean in right now. This is important, because what this guy is going to share with you, I'm sure quite a lot of blokes are going to relate to. And I think it's really important because, you know, in the pubs and around football, it's all about a laugh and banter, and I'm all for that. But sometimes there's stuff going on deeper that a lot of blokes just ignore and push aside. So Scott, mate, I just want you to just give as much as you want really about what your life has looked like in adulthood particularly, and your lifestyle, your choices, the things that you do. Yeah, the floor is yours, bud.
Okay, it's a difficult question when you put it like that. it's easy to look back on your life, and it's easy to maybe pick points from certain times and certain periods of your life, but to talk about them when you've not really put them in the spotlight and reflected on them, it can be difficult. And for me, I'm 32 for the next 4 hours. I'm 33 tomorrow. It's my birthday tomorrow, and always been from Stapleford, but never kind of always tried to get outside of the box of Stapleford a little bit, because it's not my favourite place in the world, but I've got a lot of connections there, and it's the town that raised me. My family's always been from there. But looking back, this last year or two, the last 2 years, I'd say, which ties in quite well from what we were saying about when we got to know each other, has been the time of reflection in my life, where I've kind of drawn the last 10 to 12 years of my life and put it under the spotlight a bit, and really got it together. And like you said at the start, this is, for me, this lockdown period, and aside from all the negativity and the bad news that we've had, the deaths and the infections and, you know, the destruction it's caused, on a personal level, for me, this has been the making of my life, and this has been my turnaround point, which I think is, I remember a time last year when we were on a Saturday and we was playing football, and it was almost it was a bit like fate, and it was meant to be that the opposition couldn't field a team or something, and the game got called off. I'd forgot my house key. Me and you were stuck in Stapleford, and we went out together and just chilled for 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours, and had a real good chat about things, and certain things that were said at that point made me have a bit of a realization about my life, but didn't really fully grasp it and do anything about it as such. And then this lockdown period now, for the last, I'd say 2-3 months, is when my turning point came in. And yeah. I'm not a Christian, I'm not religious, but like I said to you, Rory, on the phone, it was almost like when I've heard you speak about, or when Christians have a moment where they see God, and it's kind of a light, and that's been me for the last 2 or 3 months, and this is going to be the making of my life, and no one's going to stop me on that from making it my life now.
That's absolutely class, mate, to hear, and thank you for just taking us through that. So, like, for those who don't know you, and I don't want to pry and dig too much, but it's as much as you want. So, like, you said you're not a Christian, you said you're not a churchgoer, and you had this type of moment where you had that self-realization, almost like a reality check. But before you got to that point, can you just share with, like, some of our viewers, just like some of the things that you would like do, what, you know, socializing, whatever it is, like just so they can have a bit more of a indication of like the impact of this change from like here to here, sort of thing.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing in my life that's kind of been a burden or held me back and stuff like that isn't choices I've made, but the choices that I've made in life have contributed to the fact that I was always on a platform where I was never going to win, and I was never going to overcome my demons, sort of thing. And by that, I've been through tricky times. I've been through sticky situations, and like you've said, I'm not a churchgoer. I'm not a Christian. I'm atheist. I don't I come away from the social media spotlight of religion and politics and stuff because it's a can of worms that I don't want to get into. But me personally, the stuff, I mean, I'll go into detail further about life events and stuff, but the things that I was getting involved in, which were my personal choices. So I've suffered with gambling addictions on and off for a long time, and that's been a massive burden on my life and a problem. There's been incidents of when I look back where drugs and drink and getting caught up in that lifestyle when your head's already down and your chips are on, you know, they're down, and you kind of think that's a relief and that's a button to press that's going to take the pain away, but it takes it away for what, 6 hours, 7 hours until you wake up the next morning. And there's been times where I'm not proud of what I've done, but I'll be open and honest about it and say that incidents where I've been under the influence of drugs and alcohol, and I've drove home and down a motorway from Chesterfield, and just shameful places, dark places where the decisions I made in life were just not helping myself. And I accept that people will judge me for that, and people that I've told that will judge me. And I think in a weird kind of way, good karma comes around, and then a few months later, I got my license took off me for an unrelated incident that actually was not. I say it wasn't my fault, but it wasn't an incident like a crash or anything. But by the by, that's, that was the price I paid for being stupid at the time, and that was life's way of telling me that, you've done wrong and this deserves to happen, and you learn from those mistakes. I don't look at those things I do look at them as regrets, and certain things as well, money issues, and which all spirals then in your relationship with trust issues and stuff like that, and secrets and stuff. And whilst I have regrets, on the flip side of that coin, I've made peace with myself, and I've made peace with my past to the person that I am now. And anything that I think about in that past is just not applicable to me anymore, because I'm not looking that way. I'm looking that way, and I can't change what's happened in the past as much as I'd like to sometimes. In fact, I wouldn't even like to deep down, because it makes you that person that you are. And if you don't, there's nothing in life in my opinion, there's nothing in life that's there to, it's not a regret, it's not a mistake, it's just a lesson. And you learn from those incidents in life to make you I wouldn't probably be sitting here doing this if my life had gone other ways and stuff. And that's what I'm grateful for. So whilst I'm not religious, I've sinned a lot. I've done a lot of bad stuff, and it's my past, and everybody has. But I don't compare myself to other people as well. Like, if you compare, I read something the other day that said if everybody on the planet ate the same, drank the same, slept the same, did the same amount of exercise, we'd still all look different. There is no point in comparing yourself to anybody. I am who I am, and I'm just learning from my mistakes now, learning my lessons.
Yeah, man. Oh, that's massive. I'm loving it. And it sounds like you've just done something that the approach I have in Line in the Shadows is ACT, and the T bit is take responsibility, take ownership. And it looks like not just that you've took that responsibility for your past, and, you said that the gambling and all that kind of stuff, you've actually acknowledged it, and you've comprehended it over this lockdown in your mind. I think that's absolutely class, mate, because a lot of blokes naturally, and I speak from experience, not just because I'm a know-it-all now, or you're running a YouTube channel, good for you. It's actually because I've had to go through this process myself, where I get to the point where I'm like, I feel empty, and exactly like you, brother. I tried so many things in the world that had to offer me, and things that feel good in the moment. As you said like 6 hours or so, and you wake up and you just feel like, I don't know, how would you describe that feeling, when it dries out?
It's crazy, because it's kind of the worst antidepressant in the world, because like you say, at the time, it does feed those cravings that you need. Everybody will be struggling at times, and that's maybe the reason why they turn to alcohol or drugs or whatever. But it's just a temporary relief, and it's kind of taking one step forward to take 2 steps back, because the pain's just doubly worse in the morning. And I don't, you obviously have the physical pain of a hangover and drugs and stuff. You have the physical come down, but mentally as well, you're just in a vicious circle. And it's crazy that we spoke on the phone last week, and I was telling you about that moment that I had. And until, I think in experience, you can't force that moment. You can't push that moment through, but naturally, until you hit that moment and you think, I'm in control of my own destiny and my future. For me, like gambling, nobody pushed me into a bookies. Nobody signed me up to Sky Bet. Nobody put a pen in my hand and said, pick 5 football teams out time and time and time again. I did those things myself. So the first thing that I had to realize was that you need to accept that you've got an addiction, you've got a problem. You need to accept that that's nobody's fault. That's my fault. That's my stuff to turn around, and it's destroying other people's lives. Like, I've lost relationships from it. And it can have such an effect in it's not just about having a football accumulator or having a bet on a horse. There's so much more to it other than that, which when you live in denial, until you open yourself up and say, I got to live with acceptance now, that's, it's not going to change.
That's so true, bro. I'm probably like, I'm loving this because your story is different to Simon's in episode 1 about surviving cancer, Lewis in episode 2 about his business decisions and going into businesses. He's like a creative guy, and learned so much from that. But this week's like, I don't know, like we're going to go in a bit about the moment and the transformation and how you're living now per se. But I'm just loving that we're parking here because I think it's so important for our viewers that we don't just rush through and get to the happy clappy moment of where you're at now in your life. But we really just focus on, you mentioned the word denial. Well, I just want to ask you, this is quite on the spot question. It probably isn't easy, but what do you think as a bloke, just you, Scot Harlow, no one else, what do you think kept you in denial?
I just think it was addiction. It was something inside me that, you know, when I look back, how I said I took stock of my life the last 2 years. Well, one of the first things I realized when I spoke to my mum and looked at this is that we realized that this actually stretches back like 10 years, 12 years. This was when I first got with my ex-partner, who I've got 2 daughters with. The same things were happening, and it's not fluke, it's not coincidence. Like, I didn't open myself up to mental health issues, and it makes it sound like I'm just a gambling addict, or I have suffered with a lot of mental health stuff as well. And like I say, that's been the biggest burden, but the decisions I made about gambling were just all gonna come crashing down. But for me, I lived in denial because at the time, whenever people tried to help me or whenever people tried to talk to me, certainly with gambling, I would say that within 24 hours, I was going and having another bet, and I just couldn't stop. And I had no concern for the repercussions or the consequences of money, of people's trust that I was damaging. And, you know, and denial for me is that you will always deny it in the time, like I said, until you have that moment where you realize this has turned my life, and this is the person. I'm now realizing that the person that I wanted to be isn't the person that I've been for the last 12 years, 10 years sort of thing. And it's when I take that weight of denial off my shoulders and replace it with acceptance and say, that's happened, that's that. And, you know, I can't recoup all the money I've lost, and I wouldn't like to see the figures. And, you know, but I wouldn't pick any figure in the world and on the planet to replace the feeling of when I had a moment the other month to say, this is it now. This is me done. This is water under the bridge for me. And I said to you on the phone that until I was living in denial, and then I had a moment where I kind of almost just had a mini funeral in my head with my old person, my old self, and said, this is done now. This is, you know, and it's easy to say you've had those sort of moments, and I've had moments in the past where I say I'm going to change and stuff, but I don't know, there was just something about it this time that made me think. And it's only been 3 months, like 12 weeks now, where I've been on this new path, but there's, you know, I could get hit by a bus and it wouldn't knock me back into the life that I was in before. There's nothing to stop me living how I want to live my life now.
That is amazing, mate. That's so cool. Something just pops into my mind as well as you were saying that. So amazing. Do you think, like, when you got to the point where you were at the end of your denial and you came to that point of realization, accepting it, taking responsibility, you know, you've comprehended it, do you think it was because the lockdown had took your choices away from you, or do you really think that it was such a passion and such a care for yourself and for your future and for your kids and your family and your relationships that made you do this? Or would you say it's both? Like, talk us through that. Like, what do you, because I'm really trying to help our viewers to have some like examples or tools of where they can go, all right, I see you. Like, I'm loving what you're saying, I get it, but I'm stuck. So like, what did it take? Like, what was the recipe almost, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And I'm not going to deny that the lockdown had a big part to play for me. So it would be easy for people to say, well, when they hear my reasons and my story and why I came to this realization, it would be easy for people to say, minus a lockdown, a global pandemic, would this guy have changed his ways? And that will always be, you know, $1 million question. Who knows? That's you know, that's, it can't be answered. But for me, the lockdown, I remember in March when we were kind of going into lockdown, and it was kind of becoming well known that we were going to be going into some form of lockdown. That's when I remember driving home from the gym, ironically, with a McDonald's, which completely just
everyone loves a Mackey's.
That I kind of said to myself, I've got a decision now, and this is going to be my make or break moment. And I was in my relationship at that point, but I went to I haven't been living at home for the last 3 months. I've been at my mum's flat in Beeston. She doesn't live here, so I'm completely on my own. She's got a place and I'm on my own. And that was the biggest thing for me, Rory, is that whether it was a lockdown or not, I was absolutely crying out for some space on my own and time. And I am a massive introvert, I think, as a person, but for me, I needed a time frame of, this is why I kind of hope the lockdown goes on a little bit, because time away is what I've needed. And I've not had it for 10 to 12 years. For one reason or another, I've not been on my own and had my own thoughts. And that sounds crazy maybe to some people, but when you do struggle with mental health, you need that escape, and you need, you know, there's times where I'm not everyone's favorite cup of tea, and I'm not anybody's favorite cup of tea because of my moods and what I've been seeing a therapist for, and just me as a person. And I need to get away and I know that. So when the lockdown came about, I said that I was going to be on my own. And you're right in what you're saying. The lockdown for me physically took football away across the world, so I couldn't gamble on it. It physically locked bookies' doors and said no one's coming in for a bet. And I said to you on the phone the other week that I needed a period of time where I could grow capital in the bank, I could get some money behind me, I could, you know, the temptation of having a bet was taken away from me. And to be fair, a lot before the lockdown, my gambling had kind of cooled down a bit anyway. And it was, you know, it's not as bad as it has been years ago. It was always on the decline from years ago, but then I've not been as bad. Like I was, when I had no responsibilities, I was really bad, but I still wanted to kick it out. And I still wanted it. It was not that, because you could equally say that, yeah, you know, I only lost £50, £60 here and there, but it's not the money that's the problem. It's what it does to your head, and it's what it does to other people's lives and damages your life. And yeah, during the lockdown, when everything was taken away from me, the temptations, I made a decision that the biggest thing that I was going to work on was myself. And I started off by doing 60 press ups in the morning, 60 sit ups. I've carried on working from home throughout the lockdown, so I'm still working, and just grew it like that. And during the lockdown, I've lost a stone in weight, but not only have I lost a stone in weight, I found a set of abs from somewhere. I found a bit more of a set of an arms from places. And I'm now doing 4 sets of exercise a day, which again, other people might say, God, that's a bit, you know, he's obsessed or is this, that, but it makes me feel good. And I will take anything away out of my head that makes me feel bad, like gambling and lies and living a life of deceit, and replace it with good stuff like exercise and press ups. And my diet is full of fruit and veg. My head's just in such a better place, which is take away gambling as one and everything else. Under that umbrella, that all falls under your mental health. And if you're maintaining your mental health and you're controlling your own head, the rest will take care of itself. And I know people will say, you know, the lockdowns caused him to change, but football's been back across certain places in Europe for weeks now. And to be honest, when a gambler's an addict, they'll find a way of having a bet on anything. And I could agree with gambling the whole lockdown. There's been football around the world. There's been virtual stuff, whatever. And I can honestly, hand on heart, say that I'm just not tempted in the slightest. I just come to that realization that day. I don't know what the date was of the day, but the very start of lockdown was my turning point where I said, you either go left or right. And if you can't use a lockdown, a global pandemic, in somewhere where you're locked inside of a house and said, you know, lock yourself away. If you can't use that to your advantage, what other tool are you going to, what greater opportunity is going to come along where you can change your life? And I think it's the same for a lot of people. This has been a realization to the world that actually this is a second opportunity in life for some people, and a chance to grow, and minus all the negativity, use the positivity from it to grow yourself in person, and, you know, fight your demons, and open yourself up to a life what you can have. Because I just feel like I've been living a life with a mask on, and just, you know, just bobbing along day by day, week by week. And like I say, a lot of my problem wasn't at football. Like, I like to be a big personality, and I like to be one of the lads. And, you know, there's always almost kind of a reputation to keep up. But I just don't want that. Like, it's just a living a bit of a lie sort of thing. And I don't know, it's a weird feeling to explain, but I'm just so much happier now. And now that I've took my opportunity to change, and an opportunity was given to me on a plate in a lockdown, I'm not going to lie, but you only need that one opportunity if you want to grasp it properly and take advantage of it. And anyone can, you know, use it to their advantage.
It almost sounds like, do you remember the lyrics of 8 Mile with Eminem? You only get one shot. That's what's just coming to my head. It's true.
He'd have needed about 15 pads of paper to go on that, all I'm saying. I've been talking for about 2 minutes.
No, mate.
More than a little booklet.
Mate, this is what it's about. And I asked you, I said, just go all out if you want to, and you are doing it. And it's absolutely brilliant. I'm sat here just smiling like a Cheshire cat, even though my middle name's Cheshire, but I am actually sat here buzzing, because everything you're saying is just like pure content. And there are going to be so many blokes. I want to share the granny out of this, because there are going to be so many blokes who are going to see this and hear it and be like, yeah, that's me. And I'm like, I'm speaking to you now, people who are watching, don't be distracted and go off somewhere in your house, or go outside, or catching something on social media. Listen to this. Like, this story is true story. This ain't manufactured. This is authentic as it gets, and it's powerful and inspiring. And, you know, I'm not perfect. I need my boost. Scott's got his tools. I got my tools. But this guy right here is inspiring me like mad, because the things he's saying is just pure power. It's change. It's transformation. And this is what Enlighten the Shadows is about. I started this, even though no one taught me or trained me. I started this message because I'm like, this lockdown, although this is a miracle per se, and this is a testimony of positivity, like, people need this. They need to hear this. So don't just listen and hear it. Take it in, and use Scott's tools. Use the things he said for your advantage. And I want to ask you this, Scott, because we've had our chance, so to speak, and some people might be watching and go, yeah, but I worked throughout the lockdown, or yeah, but the lockdown's coming to an end. And I'm kind of like setting you up for the answer almost, but I do feel like we consume our lives with stuff. You mentioned your stuff. I can feel it. I said to Sharice today, I feel like things are starting to intensify. All these things. I'm like, I want to just like start saying no. I want to start cutting some things so that I can keep my list per se shorter, you know, so I can stay focused, stay, like you said, with energized, stay fit with the things that make me happy and not burdened. So I don't know, maybe I've already said the answer, but is there anything you could say about, because they go, yeah, good for you, Scott, but the lockdown's coming to an end, so does that mean I've not got my chance anymore? My chance is over. And we want to say to blokes, like, your chance is tonight or today, whatever part of the day you're watching this video, your chance is now. So yeah, man, do you have anything that you could just enlighten us with about what I've just said?
Yeah, so you're right in what you're saying, that it doesn't necessarily, whilst I find that in my experience I needed this lockdown to be able to change, it doesn't bother me that I needed something there to change rather than choosing off my own back. Because like I said, if I dwelled on that I'd be looking at the past again, and I'm just not interested in looking at the past anymore. But, you know, you're right in that it doesn't, global pandemic aside or not, and I've carried on working my 40 hours a week, and people, you can be gifted an opportunity, or you can make that change yourself. If, you know, the thing that I've learned in life, and like I say, for a year I've been seeing a CBT therapist and was on the route to getting referred about clinical depression and stuff. And people will say this, my mum will say this, partner will say that. And I've got two amazing little daughters that keep me going, and they're beautiful. They're the best behaved kids, and they're a reason for me, and they're an inspiration for me. But the one thing I've learned from everything is no matter who sits there and tells you to your face or over the phone, do this or try this, it will only ever come from in yourself, in your inner self, that you want to make that change. And for me, the first thing's been acceptance. So I had to accept that I had wrongs that I wanted to right and everything like that. But, pandemic aside or lockdown aside, now's a great opportunity with stuff like the summer coming up. Like when we get out of this and when we're allowed that full freedom back, or if people have already started going and getting the freedom, I know we've had a bit of bad weather today, but if we can carry on having the nice weather, for me, one of the biggest things that made me do is just appreciate the outdoors. And nobody made me appreciate the outdoors, but I go cycling now every night, or on a walk, 6 mile, 5 mile walk. In the mornings, I do that. And these are all things that, yes, I've been forced to make this choice in life, but I could have easily picked the bad choice and sat on my sofa the whole time and got fatter and ate crap and, just let life pass me by. But it's about taking your opportunity. And there's a lot of things that I've not gone into in my life and about on this, that huge life-changing decisions that, certain people will be able to testify for, that I don't know how times I got by without throwing in the towel, because I did throw in the towel a lot of the time, and it caused me into a rut of depression and bad times. And that's when I was making bad decisions as well along the way. But yeah, it's all things that I look at now and think, yes, I was forced into making a decision about my life at that point, but I know that I made the right decision. And whether lockdown's coming to an end or not, it's a golden opportunity to look at the life before you had about lockdown and think, you know what, how can I be different? How can I make a difference? And, I always used to say, just going off topic a little bit, that I used to be with a girl and she was a vegetarian and the family were vegetarians as well. And I used to say, but what's the point in me being a vegetarian? Because it's not going to stop animals getting killed, or it's not going to stop the mentality of the world. And they always used to say to me, but in your head and your heart, you're doing your bit then. Even if it doesn't stop the way that animals are slaughtered, you're doing your bit. And, you're not going to make whatever the reason for this COVID-19 is, if it's a theory, and I've said to you before, if it's a government conspiracy, if it's whatever it's going to be, you will never get to the bottom of what it was and change the life of 67 million people in this country. But for you and yourself, for you as a person, you can go out and it's your opportunity after lockdown to change. And if you want to make a change, it's a new life, it's a new way of looking at things, and it's a new way to get up in the morning and think, you know what, it doesn't matter what the weather's like, or it doesn't matter if this didn't go my way yesterday. It's just looking in the past, and you can't change the past. And one of the things that I would say that I've done about, when you said your list, is that I've started putting order. The biggest thing that's helped me who struggles with the headspace and the mental health is that I do a lot of tracking now. So my food intake, my exercise, my money, I've got a plum account, which I'm saving money in and building that up and investing in that, and, started tracking loads of things. And again, that's another tool to help me along the way and to make my list like not a minefield anymore, but got it to a point where, I know what I'm doing each day. It's all in structure, it's all in place, and it helps me function, and it just makes my day go smoother. And it's those little things where I say that I've had a lot of big events go off in my life the last 3 years. I'd say the last 3 years, 4 years have crippled me to my knees and to points where I didn't look like there was a way out for me, and I'd planned suicide and stuff like that. But some people will say you didn't have the balls to go through with it, but I always look back and think it took more balls to not go through with it and get up the next morning and face your darkness again. And horrific times that I used to look at it and think, but they're going through worse. Why am I feeling like this? And this person's going through worse. But there's no rules, or there's no list of how one man should feel in his head if his problems are this big to the next man whose problems are this big. You know, there's no rule of thumb. Everyone's problems are everyone's problems. And whilst I don't think mental health will ever be cured, I think it's nearly impossible to cure something what you don't know the trigger points are half the time. You don't know, you know, I've had a terrible day today after a succession of good days, and these things will happen, but I deal with them better now. And that's the point, that you have to find a way of managing your own head and maintaining a happiness in your head, because I accept that I'll always have mental health issues. My mum, a lot of people know that about me, but I certainly feel since this lockdown, and I've really spoke to myself in the mirror and said, we're going to change life, that I can deal with that better. And I got the tools now to deal with a bad day, take it in my stride and say, you know what, put this song on in the background, cheer yourself up, go for a walk, take pictures of stupid stuff that people would think that's just ridiculous. But I said to you, when I get out on my bike and you start to smell certain things when you go in places like down the canal and stuff like that, and you start to see things where you'd never really opened your mind up to before, it's just amazing. So much of a better life and a happier place in my head where I'm at now. And I wouldn't let anybody take credit for that. I've made that my goal over lockdown, and nobody else has said to me, you know, you need to change your life. I've took that on board. So to cut a long story short, which I haven't done, forget about lockdown coming to an end and forget about, you know, reasons to do it. If you want to do it, only you can change, you know, your way of thought, your headspace, your daily routines and stuff like that. And people say you should exercise and you should do this, and I agree with that, but it's a combination of so much thing. You can't just go for a walk every couple of days or lift weights for 20 minutes and expect to lose weight and look in the mirror and have a sense of satisfaction. You've got to keep these things going, and you've got to keep a routine and help your head out, and your head will help yourself out so much. It's just what I found.
Can you just say that again? I love me quotes.
If you do help your head, if you do help your own brain and your own headspace, it will just take care of everything else. You'll find that you will still have bad days, but you'll be so much more equipped for those bad days, and you'll be so much, you know, life's a test that you don't get tested on your good days. Your good days are great, and I'm not disputing that. We all want to be happy. That's what we want in life. But you test yourself as a bloke and test yourself as a person. And I've had today, mate, where I've cried today. I've had a bad day. I've had a day where it's just all come crashing down. But, you know, at the end of the day, I know tomorrow will be better. Well, it won't, because I'm turning 33, but tomorrow's a new day, and tomorrow you get up, you go again, and you don't dwell on it. And that's the sort of mentality I feel you have to get in your head. And I just wish every bloke and every woman could have that, because we're all one. But I sometimes feel blokes carry so much of a burden, like when I go to football and stuff, to be the big man and to be the one that, you know, whether you're captain or vice captain, or whether you have to be the...
Hey, Rob.
Exactly.
Robbo's got those burdens, bro.
Yeah. And if you have to be the lad of the changing rooms and you're a big character as well, Rory. And you said to me before, you know, everyone looks at me and thinks he'll be all right because he's happy. But, you know, I bet a penny to the pound that you, like everybody else, have bad days, and we all do. And I just wish there was more awareness about blokes, it being acceptable for blokes to say, you know what, I'm struggling and I've hit a rock bottom today, or, you know, and it makes me get emotional now, because I look back at my life and think I've got two little girls that keep me going with everything, everything, Rory, everything. But there was a time when they weren't enough in my head, not because I didn't choose for them to be enough, but there was something there that I just couldn't shift and I couldn't get rid of. And that's the guilt for the last 3 years since my relationship ended with their mum and I went my own separate way, that I've always had my little girls 50% of the time. I've done my best by them every minute of the day. But I carried so much guilt around with me to think, you know, I've let them down and I'm meant to be this strong man and their dad that they look up to and say, you know, you're meant to carry this family. And I had my ex-partner's mum saying to me, you walked out on this family, you left your kids, and I never did. I left a relationship that was not working, and that was an awful decision and an awful time and everything. But you know, that aside, I've learned to just make peace with it and learned to think I don't need to carry that guilt around anymore, because it's just not welcome in my life anymore. I've made peace with the past. I know I've made my mistakes, but I'm not going to be questioned by anybody in this world, because I'm just doing my best to help myself and help others and bring my girls up right. And that's the only thing for me.
That's absolutely top class, mate. And I just want to freaking just, I wish I could give you like a proper man hug, bro. You've just lay it all on the line, man, and no shame, no regrets, because
not at all.
People need to see, people need to hear, and you know what, our football team and our squad of boys are class. And I remember a real profound moment a few months back on the WhatsApp group. It just got raw. It was like, oh shoot, people just started opening up. Someone opened up about certain information, and then I thought, do you know what? Like Scott said, people look at me probably. This is just an assumption, but because they know I'm a Christian, and I'm quite joyful a lot of the time, and I'm passionate about life, people having a good life, and even doing well and playing football, having a good time, and that. And maybe there's just some pressures I hold unnecessarily in my mind, but I saw it as an opportunity to jump on and say, you know, I struggle with this, and it got like a bit like full on, and I feel like it freaked out some of the lads, and you know, we don't hold it against them for feeling that way, but I think there's a balance in it. Like, you know, we've always got to keep the banter up, and we've always got to, you know, keep the camaraderie and the morale up, because it's important to keep positive in life. There's all the amazing things you said, and you know, but I also think that there's got to be that pocket, and I'm not saying it has to happen on lads' WhatsApp groups, you know, on a daily or even a weekly basis, but maybe like it's just improving our awareness, as you said, where we can just look out for one another and be brothers, and we don't hold those dark clouds above us. As you said, you carry guilt and stuff, and you know, I believe all the lads on our team are great lads. I believe they've all got great hearts, and they've got stuff going on in their life, and maybe they feel the same way, like we've just been vulnerable about being vulnerable. So yeah, man, I hope this freaking video just absolutely rocket fires. I hope it just goes viral, and you know, people who are watching on the team, I'm glad you've watched it, and I hope you've watched it, and you know, I'm going to post it on the Stabo group, and I don't care, because I care. Like this conversation is massive, and you know, we people, you know, people might take the mick out of it just for the sake of banter again, but I don't care, because I know it's for the best of people. And yeah, one thing I've noticed in this conversation and in life, which is guaranteed, and it's suffering. And you said, bro, rightfully, I don't think mental health will ever be fully, you know, gone. Ill mental health, that is. Mental health is just the umbrella, because suffering is guaranteed. And everyone suffers, men, women, whatever walks of life. So yeah, man, I just think we need to get better. We need to improve, and I feel like we are doing that. And this conversation is just pure fire.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely loving it. But
I mean, the other principle about it is that one of the best things to do, ironically, is to talk about it. And this is where I think, you know, I don't want to get too political, but I think stuff like the Blackout Tuesday and everything, and everyone will have their own opinions on that and everything. And I think a lot of big companies used it as a promotional tool to big themselves up. And I think the wrong message was taken. Whereas I think the simplistic, you know, realization that you can sit down one-to-one and have a chat about something and pour your heart out, and someone is going to be there not to talk, not always to offer advice and offer guidance, but just to listen. And listening is such a good tool to have. And I appreciate that you've just let me talk really a lot of the time, because excuse me, the only other time I've really had a chance to do that is with a therapist, where they say, the floor is yours, you know, you tell me, you talk to me. And I think somebody who can listen to you is much more of a valuable skill than someone who can talk to you and give you advice, because sometimes you just can't advise when someone's really in a dark place in their head. The only way that somebody can really truly advise is if they're in exactly that same place with you in your own head, and it's just impossible. And you know, it's just nice. I think these sort of things, and there's more stuff like this on the internet, because again, I don't say that the lockdowns have been a great thing for the world. People will have their different views on it, but it's nice when I see stuff like people coming together over video calls just to keep people's spirits up, and people doing collaborations about things, and remembering about humanity, that we're all the same person. And just because it's crazy that we've all proved in a lockdown that we are the same, because you've got people who are got nothing that is not allowed out the house, and you've got people who are millionaires that have got the same restrictions, and we're all sort of coming together as one and keeping in touch and trying to get the world back on its feet. But I think that's important for mental health. And I don't stress men's mental health any more than women's or children or elderly, but there's been way too long of a burden on a bloke's shoulders that he can't just scream out loud and say, I need help and I'm just struggling and I can't look after. I've had times where the hardest phone calls would say, I can't have my girls this weekend or this night because I'm just not in a good place. But I don't regret that now, because sometimes we're all just human, and you've got to just say, like, I can't do it. I need to be locked away for a night, or I need some help. I need a shoulder to cry on, and I need to help myself and do the right thing for me. And I'm just learning to be a bit more selfish now. I know that we've learned in this lockdown to give and be a bit more, be a bit more thinking about other people. But I think it's equally important to learn to be selfish and look after your own head, because nobody else can look after it for you. And you don't just affect yourself when you have a bad headspace. You affect so many people around you. And you do have to look after number one before anybody else.
Absolutely. You mentioned the Blackout Tuesday thing, and
yeah,
I've got into all sorts of interesting conversations, and I've got into some not so very nice things happening online, and I thought my Instagram feed was like, bro, I kept pressing refresh.
I did.
Oh, I thought I was the only one, so I was like, Sharice was the same, and I was like, oh, what's going on? And I looked, I went, oh, and I think it is important what's happening right now, and I think it's important to listen to them. I'm not going into too much detail, but I'm hoping in this next episode 4 or 5, I'm going to have one of my brothers, African American brothers, on to talk about this, to listen. And I've been learning a lot and pushing myself to develop. But I think you're exactly right. This lockdown's been like, I think Madonna had a famous video right at the start, and Sam Smith, they were a bit struggling, like they were mocked for like crying all because of all their riches. But it just shows you the great equalizer Madonna said is that we're all just put in the same position. It doesn't matter how good you think you are, how successful you are. And I just want to tell the viewers watching, like, this is huge that you take this conversation and try and apply it and shape and mold it to your own application in life, because you've got a way out. You've got some advice here today watching this. And I just feel that there's so much frustration. I feel there's lots of fear and rage and all sorts of plethora of emotions in the world right now, and even on social media. And I think it's a platform for dialogue, and I'm all for it, and I've had positive and negative ones, but I just think what's important is that we listen to one another. Definitely. I think we're always quick to click, quick to share, quick to send, quick to make an opinion, quick to hold our feelings in when it really matters. And I think it's that turning it on its head, where we hold what's true and make it important. Man, so you just saying today, like, oh, I've had to make a really hard decision of saying, like, oh, I'm not in a good place and I can't do this. And that's cool. Like, even workplace stuff has been really poor for hundreds of years. Up until the last couple of years, mental health awareness has been horrific. And, people pull sickies and get away with it. And then you've got people who are really struggling with their mental health, and they're told to man up or get on with it. And it's like, we're not into having a pity party with blokes, but we've got to have that sense of we're not in a good place, have that time, reorganize, and then get yourself back where you need to be. So yeah, man,
and I think that's for me, the lockdown period, if I could have one wish about this lockdown, because let's be right, 2020 is going to be remembered forever for this, and there's no getting away from that, and it's going to shape people's life and shape the world. But my only wish would be, and I'm not like preaching that, you know, everyone should do what I'm doing, but people really have got an opportunity to either, you've got three options to either carry on life as it was before, which I think in general, in a wider scale, the world just ran itself into the ground financially and politically and socially and everything. That the message, and generally the message across the world just wasn't, I don't know, it just turned into a bit of a dark place. So I think you can either choose to live the same way you were living, improve yourself, or just take really no notice of it. And I just wish that so many people would improve themselves, like even on littler scales. I go down, join out in the house during lockdown, and it's true what people are saying. So many people now just say hi to each other and hello and stuff like that. And it's nice to see that, you know, I did the claps and stuff for the NHS, not every week, but there was almost a sense of unity in that as well, that it was just coming together and people coming together again. And like, you know, it's like you say, we just need to listen to each other more. We need to realize that everyone is equal, whether you've got billions of pounds in the bank or you're sitting in a small apartment like me now on my own with nobody. I'll be on my own all day for my birthday tomorrow, but it doesn't matter. It's not a problem. And everyone's just equal, man. And it's time the world sort of just realized that a little bit more. And this has got to have been the biggest wake-up call our generation will ever get given to them on a plate to change. But hopefully people will. But in terms of yourself, your own headspace, everyone's in control of being able to do that. So I hope people, you know, who are struggling, because there's a lot of people that struggle and don't voice up, introverts that don't voice up and say anything. And a lot of people that their way of dealing with it is to let it build up and not talk about it. And that's fine. I'm the same. But that aside, you can change so many little things in your life, and the little things make the big things. They contribute to make the big things or the big thing. And there's so many little things you can do to change your way of life and your living. And hopefully that is the biggest thing other than Leeds getting promoted.
Come on.
In the world.
We had to slip that in, didn't we, bro?
Definitely.
Stabbo won't be because we got nailed because they're amateur level, so it didn't matter. But it did matter to us. We were robbed as well there. Anyway, yeah, bro, massive content today. I'm so grateful for you. And you know what? I felt in my heart. This is a bit mushy, but I felt in my heart to say publicly, whoever watched this, I wanna thank the people in your life. Whether it was, you know, intimate relationship, family, friend, work colleague, teammate, someone online, whatever, something you've watched. I want to thank them publicly for keeping, like, you made your own choices, you kept yourself going, but them keep upholding you. You talked of a 3-year window where you were really not in a good place, and I want to publicly honor them. And we don't need to say their names. We know, well, you know a lot more than me, but I know a couple of them. But we want to say thank you so much, like, for keeping this man going. And you know, his story is a testament to himself, but it's also a testament to you people for that love and that compassion, that patience, and it's paid off. And you know, long may it continue with your life, bro. I'm so excited to see a year down the line. That's not a pressure thing. That's like, and I just expect it like in a calm, cool, natural fact, because I know you're changed, and I know you'll have your rocky days, like you said, you know today. But you've let it out, and you've even done it on a flipping 1-to-1 in Light in the Shadows episode 3 interview, and you've just nailed it. And as you say, big 3 threes this year, so it's going to be a great year for you, bro. I believe it. I'll speak positivity into your life. You're going to have a great year, mate. And you know, I want you back. Like, you know, I'll have new guests, but in the future, episode X, whenever that will be, you know, roughly in the year, I want to have you back. And I just, you know, so this is a goal or a motivation for you to say, look, bang, in a year's time, I'm believing you're going to be back here, but actually we're going to have a sick setup. We're going to be in person. It's going to be full on, proper good professional. We're going to have a right chat and just inspire people to new levels, bro. I love that.
And the thing is, I know already in my head that, there is no pressure. Like you say, it's no pressure because I'll make it no pressure. If it's a pressure, it means it's a chore, it's a task, it's a burden to keep it going. But when you start enjoying having a better life and going out and exercising and doing push-ups in the morning and workouts and jogging, it's not pressure at all, because it just contributes to a happier life, and that's what everybody wants. But there's 6 months left to 2020. That's the other thing. Like, people, it's half full or half empty, however you want to look at it. We've got half a year to be able to say, we met this year what it is. If it will always be remembered as the year of the pandemic, but everybody in their own life can make it the year where they remember X, because I did this and for me, I won't let the pandemic overshadow the fact that actually 2020 for me was the year that I changed and I started life again. And that's how we've got to look at it. That's what we've got to try and do.
Come on, that's it. And I just feel we've come to that point in the chat where we've filled our viewers and they're satisfied and I'm satisfied. So yeah, brother, thank you so much for all your positive.
Not a part. It's been my pleasure. It's been nice to talk about it and get it off my chest, if anything.
Great. And let that inspire other people. That's the right thing to do. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching episode 3 with my man Scot Harlow this week. The COVID testimonial transformation. I absolutely love it. I just want to say to you guys, I need your love. I need your energy. I need your following, not because it's about Rory, but because it's about stories like this where we can get it out on the internet as much as possible and get it shared, get it liked. So just coming up on your screen now, you can see the Instagram and the Twitter. That will be Enlighten the one, almost like a swear word, but that's how it is. That's the name that I've got for it. And then also on the YouTube itself, as I said last week, please, it just takes a minute or so to get yourself a YouTube account. You don't have to go on it much. It'd be just so amazing if you could do that for me. Coming on your screen now, you'll see the bit on the red box. You can subscribe. You need that to your account. And also there's a little thumbs up, there's a like button. Please do that for me. That'd be amazing. Get this shared, get on social media, particularly Facebook, and share this bad boy out, because this is pure fire content. I'm loving it. And this is going to change. I believe this is going to change lives. So it's up to you guys. So yeah, thank you, Scott, brother. Nice one.
No worries. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. God bless, guys.